Thank you so much for talking to BPF. Can you take us back to your early days in cricket? What were your inspirations growing up?
Yeah, look, I grew up in Karachi, born in Pakistan. Cricket was part of everyone's life on the streets. As soon as the sun went down, it was just out there playing till night. So that was the initial sort of leadings into the cricket. In cricket, I used to watch a highlight show with my granddad, and then when we moved to the UK, it was the first thing I looked for, a cricket club. And cricket initially really was something that gave me a bit of identity, a bit of purpose, and somewhere I could socialise with people. So yeah, early memories were really nice.
Mm-hmm. As a British Pakistani, do you feel a sense of belonging in the sport, like from the start?
I think when you're young, these are not really things that you sort of look at or concentrate on. I think especially when you're a young kid, all you want to do is play the game, and that was the same for me. I absolutely loved and adored every part of cricket. So it wasn't really something you're even sort of looking at. But I think as you get older and the experiences that I experienced and many others do experience make you realise that actually it's quite an isolating place, and it's not been a very welcoming place for me as a Pakistani.
Who were your biggest influences and supporters while you were playing cricket?
Yeah, I think, look, getting into the game, watching with my granddad initially. My mum loves cricket. She's got her family really into it. Dad wasn't that really bothered, but, he took us all around the country. And I think to get anywhere in professional sport, you need huge support of your parents. The sacrifices that they make, taking you from training sessions, in Ramadan, opening your fast outside the ground and things like that. So your parents, my siblings, they were the support that allow you to go out there and do what you want to do and do what you love doing. But it's the family and friends around you that allow you to go and be able to perform.
It's Not Banter, It's Racism is a book that you've written. What inspired you to write that, and what do you hope readers would take away from it?
I think, look, for me, when the conversations around the book first came up, I had no idea that I would be heard in the way I was. I had no idea that I would be in front of a select committee, being televised on every TV and radio channel, and I'd be able to speak about my experiences and get off my shoulders what I was carrying on my own for a very long time and struggling with it. So the conversations around the book came very early, and I thought that would be my last moment to get everything off my chest and then get on with my life. But obviously things has changed, things happened, the select committee happened, and my life changed over that hour and 45. When I came out of it, I think I was naive to what I had sort of just put myself through, but that became evident over the next months, and having to then leave the country as well just showed the backlash and everything that I had to experience from it. The book then changed as to what I wanted the book to be. And for me, it's very important for me that I'm a massive believer. I can't change what's happened. It's not going to bring my career back. It's not going to bring my son back. But what I can impact is what happens tomorrow. And I'm a solutions-driven person, always trying to control what I can. And in true sports person style, I wanted to, in the book, obviously deal with the issues, because I think it's important sometimes in search for positivity, in search for looking forward, we forget what's happened. And the minute you forget what's happened, it happens again. So dealing with what had happened, going through it, and then, providing some solutions and looking at how we're going to make things better, because I think that's what I want to do, because I want a society, I want a game free of racism, a game where my kids could go one day and not be called a P word. So, and look, the title of the book came from the actual initial investigation where sadly an so-called independent body decided that me being called the P word was banter, and I wanted to make it very, very clear that it's never banter.
So the title itself is very powerful. Why was it important for you to frame the conversation this way?
I think, like I said, I wanted to get a balance of dealing with what the reality is. And that is the reality, and if it makes people uncomfortable, then that is exactly what it should do. Unfortunately, this is not something we can hide away from. It is something we face, and my experience is not unique in any way. It's an experience of many people across many industries. The only potential unique thing is the way I spoke out and carried on going while I was being attacked. So I think it was important for me to be real and authentic in actually what's happened, and then look to move forward or look forward. But looking forward and searching for positivity when there isn't any is not something that I agree with. And unfortunately, it happens too much. We're a society where, oh, look at us, oh, we're not like that, but we are. We're absolutely like that, as well as the positive side. And the summer riots actually proved very much of that.
Were there any personal stories that were particularly difficult to share?
Yeah, a lot. I think initially doing that interview with Sky and talking about how close I came to taking my own life, that was the first time my own family heard about that. They thought I was living my dream, but actually I was living my worst nightmare. So sharing that, I think, naturally sharing the difficult pregnancy and losing our child, that's difficult every time I share it. It doesn't get any easier. But also the dark moments. I spoke out in August 2020, trying to get some of what I was carrying off me, and arguably I built more trauma, and that was really difficult. I sat in front of international television, talked about how close I came to taking my own life, and a game and people that I'd given my whole life to left no stone unturned to take me over the edge. But Allah had my back, and I'm still here. And trying to move forward and look at stuff in a positive manner. Despite all of that, I feel the most luckiest person on the planet. I've had the most incredible support outside of cricket that anyone can ask for, and I treasure that. And hopefully I can use that to keep fighting the good fight.
So how do these experiences that you've shared with us shape your perspective on British cricket culture?
I think again the reality is my experiences are not unique, and they haven't stopped either. I get contacted on a regular basis from people at different parts of the game, whether at grassroots, semi-professional, even professional, and different stakeholders. So these issues are still there. So I think, as I said earlier, that we don't need to run away from the fact that these issues are there. We just need more people to come forward and try and deal with these issues, because if we don't, all we're doing is we're passing it on for it to happen to our kids. And the reality is, look, it's not just me. The Independent Commission Equity in Cricket that followed me coming out, spoke to over 4,000 people. That came out with some stark numbers. Over 87% of Bangladeshi and Pakistani people being discriminated while being involved in cricket. That is the reality of cricket in this country. Whether the marketeers and other people like it or not, that is a reality. So I think it's important to live in that, but also look at how we can make things better. And it's 2025, and the fact that we're still sort of having these conversations and struggling to find solutions for it tells me that we don't ever really confront it strongly enough.
What changes do you think, if any, have you seen in cricket since speaking out?
I think, look, one positive for sure has been that, more boys and girls from our background are getting opportunities, and that's positive and good to see. But, that is generally what happens off the back of something as big as that. It's how does it look in 5-10 years' time? I think we need to, I would hope, and, I'm always a glass half full, I would hope that there's less chance of someone being called a P word, in a dressing room and getting away with it. There's less chance of a continued, abuse pattern to happen. That doesn't mean that doesn't happen, but I hope so. I think, trying to hold on to some hope that I would say there's less chance. I had someone got in touch a couple of years ago, actually, after I spoke out, where their daughter went into a dressing room, was called a P word, and she came home and reported it. I think that in itself, and then the parents dealt with it. I think that's a positive, because I never had the courage at a young age to do that, because, I didn't feel like it would allow my career to progress. So I think there are bits of hope, but also, on the other side, if you look at Yorkshire in particular, it's reverted very much back to those people that oversaw that and still see racism as banter. So, actions not all the time are matching the sort of, I guess, hope and willingness at all the time. And I think it's important for us as a community to come together more than ever, because if we don't, all we're doing is, it's going to happen to our kids and then their kids, and then unfortunately you don't want to wake up when it happens to your nieces and nephews and your boys and girls. If we have a chance to get together and make sure that this doesn't happen, we have to take that chance.
Have you had conversations with other British Pakistani cricketers who face similar issues?
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're fearful that if they do speak in any way or manner, that it will be the end of their career. And that was the fear I had, and those fears did materialise. So I feel for them. But also, most sports people, sports is all they know. That particular sport is all they know from a very young age. So it's a really daunting prospect of what will life look like if I do speak out. So yeah, look, as I said, that there is still a lot of this going on. People get bored. Human beings like the shiny things. As written at the foreword of my book by Jonathan Liu, really well, human beings like, and media specifically, they jump onto the next news story very, very quickly. But where is the actual change? So I just hope that more of our sort of community, wider community, can put sort of, I guess, personal interest to one side and realise how important this is. As I said, what we saw in the summer with the riots, yes, what happened post it was brilliant to see, but tragic murder of some girls turned into women having their scarves pulled off, cars being stopped to see if they were black or brown. That is also our reality as a society.
What do you think institutions like the ECB and sports clubs need to create a generally inclusive environment?
I think firstly they need to start listening. They need to listen to the uncomfortable bits that we've got to say, because these are our experience, these are our shoes. Too many times these organisations, this is why this country struggles to get change. And it's not just through racism. If you look at, post office scandal, the Hillsborough, this Grenfell, this keeps happening over. We create lots of these working groups, lots of these reports, action plans, etc., but no action takes place because these institutions just like to kick the can down the road. They need to start listening. Don't get a couple of brown people or a couple of Pakistani people and then go, you know what, that's it, we've sorted it. And unfortunately, that's what they end up doing. So they need to start listening to the society, to the community a lot more deeply. If it's uncomfortable, then that's where change happens. Because until they start trying to live in our shoes and understand what we live, they're never going to find solutions adequate enough for change to happen.
Do you believe young British Pakistani cricketers today face fewer barriers than when you started?
It's hard to say. I hope so. I think there's more opportunities for sure for now. But as I said, I think the the reaction post something as big as my stuff can be like that. It's what does it look like in 5-10 years time? And our society right now, politically, I think we've seen it, in the election and post-election, British Pakistanis, British Muslims, it's not, we seem to be, fair game for everyone else's political attacks and, dehumanized in a manner that I've never experienced or seen before. And that is not removed from cricket either. That, cricket is part of that society. So I think there's some really challenging days ahead, if I'm being perfectly honest, and it's going to need a lot of us and the good people, and there are a lot of good people, to make sure that we don't, we don't end up in a society where, that this issue becomes bigger and bigger, because the reality is that is where we're heading.
Mm-hmm. What advice would you give to someone experiencing racism but struggling to speak up?
I get this a lot. It's difficult, right? Because I know the challenges that come with it. All I really say to them is, look, ultimately, when you go to bed at night, it's it's you and the clock. So if you make that decision, you've got to sort of live with it, and it is challenging. And that's not putting them off. That's just, that's what I've experienced. Little did I know I'd have to leave the country to protect my family. But what I do say to them is, you'll have one more person supporting than I did, and I'll support them however I can. But ultimately, when they go to bed at night, it's going to be, it's them and the clock, and a lot of the challenges that come with speaking out, you end up dealing quite on your own.
You talked about leaving the country. Has speaking out impacted your life outside of cricket, positively or negatively?
Yeah, look, I'm a glass half full person. There's been a lot of challenges, but in true sports person style, I've turned them challenges into opportunities and a purpose. Leaving the country has been difficult for the whole family, and we still live with the consequences of that. But at the same time, we're in a great place, in Dubai, and families around me, and we're building a life, there. So opportunities come with it, and I'm very fortunate. As I said, I feel very fortunate that I wake up every morning with a purpose that's bigger than me, and I get to influence and work with corporates, work in organisations to push them in the right direction. Because as I said, what tomorrow looks like at the minute does feel a bit bleak, but only we can impact it and turn it into a bit more positive. So yeah, look, I've had many opportunities that I probably wouldn't have got. I got to write a book. I'm an author. Who would have thought that? Boy from Karachi. And I've got some other projects that are coming, which are tough, but also exciting at the same time. Get to have an opportunity to influence other people's lives is a privilege, and it's a responsibility. And hopefully I can fulfill that responsibility.
Now, talking about what's next for you, are you looking to continue advocating this work or return to sport in some way?
Look, I do a mixture of all anyway. So I've been doing a bit of media work with Arab News. So I've been covering the Champions Trophy. I was in Karachi for Pakistan's first game, which was painful. And then I was there on Sunday, which against India, which was incredibly painful. So yeah, I've been doing some media stuff, some writing around that. I'm also doing some stuff with organisations in this space, but also, helping them do more in sports. So definitely advocacy is, look, I don't think you choose these paths. I think these paths choose you. And I feel like it's a responsibility handed down from Allah to me. And I'm going to try my best to do whatever I can to fulfill it.
So how can the British Pakistani community support efforts to challenge racism in sport and beyond?
I think there's many different ways, and everyone plays their part in different ways. I think the one thing I'm trying to push at the minute is, so sports is an incredible place to be around. At its best, it gives you experiences like no other. And there's a lot of our sort of businesses, people that have been successful that haven't really got involved in sports from partnerships point of view, and it's just getting them there involved, so they have a seat at the table, and that's when you start to influence in a bigger manner. So I guess that's one part of it. I think not losing our love for it either. I think it's really important enjoying the physical aspect of sport, and the impact that sport can have on your mental health when things are good. These are all good parts of sport. I just think we need to get, to be honest, I think we do a lot of it. There's some aspects we need to get more involved in, but as far as we've been allowed to, I think we've done a lot, and these are things that don't solve overnight. So you're just pushing that ball up the hill constantly and finding ways to have your voice heard. And the more people we have in them rooms in leadership, the better chance we have of getting to a place which is much nicer for everyone.
Azeem Rafiq, thank you so much for talking to BPF, and we wish you the very best of luck with the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.